Aloha, and thank you for taking time to view this presentation on culture-based education within the agricultural systems of Koʻolaupoko, specifically Hakipuʻu and Kahaluʻu. This case study is guided by the current challenges Hawaii is facing with food security. Currently, a lack of agricultural production has led to a high 90% dependency on foreign food imports. Culture-based initiatives operating in traditional agricultural lands offer opportunities for schools and communities to form meaningful connections to food production through culturally relevant forms of education, promoting both ecological sustainability and land stewardship. In order to appropriately position the study within the literature, a review of four main categories of research was conducted. First, I looked at transitions of land use policy and agricultural practice in Hawaii. Second, I focused on the unique cultural ties the Hawaiian people have to the land and how it has informed the Hawaiian consciousness. Third, I look at the effects of colonization within the Hawaiian Islands and how that has impacted transitions in educational practice. And last, I explored research on culture-based education, specifically as it has been contextually defined within the Hawaiian epistemology, known as aina-based education. In order to understand the emergence of culture-based education, a focus was set on research pertaining to historical transitions of land use policy and agricultural practice. Historically, Hawaiian agriculture is centered around the ahupuaʻa system. The ahupuaʻa system is a method of dividing the land into segments that keep the interconnectedness of ecological systems from the mountains to the ocean. Historically, Hawaii has transitioned from a robust and sustainable food system centered around the ahupuaʻa to the plantation era, which focused on various forms of monoculture. Currently, the reclamation of traditional aina-based lands and farming practices are being implemented. So Native Hawaiians are culturally tied to the aina. This connection strongly influences the Hawaiian consciousness. In this, the Hawaiian people flourish within a strong connection between Hawaiian spirituality and land stewardship. The agricultural practices developed out of this relationship are not only skills to be learned, but sacred acts to be practiced. The motto of the Kingdom of Hawaii, as stated by King Kamehameha III, is Ua mau ke ea o ka aina I ka pono, which translates to the life of the land is perpetuated in righteousness. Historically, colonization in the Hawaiian Islands has impacted transitions within the educational community. During Hawaii's kingdom era, King Kamehameha III established within the Constitution that a school must be provided to any village with more than 15 children. By the late 1800s, Hawaii became one of the most literate nations in the world, recording in some estimates between a 91 and 95% literacy rate. In 1893, the Hawaiian Kingdom was illegally overthrown by American business interests and later annexed to the United States. By 1896, the use of the Hawaiian language had been banned in the school system, and hence education philosophies began to change and systemic methods of acculturation ensued. The impacts of colonization led to the development of culture-based programs as means to culturally restore and contextualize learning. CBE initiatives in Hawaii are often referred to as aina-based education, which is a form of land-based education. This encompasses values focused on the intrinsic connections of the Hawaiian people to the land. This aina-based education is a form of biocultural restoration, which increases the intellectual connections made by the students by developing deeper levels of cultural awareness. The purpose of this case study was to explore the applications of CBE at the agricultural sites of Hakipuʻu and Kahaluʻu, located on the windward side of Oahu. This case study gives insight into the perpetuation of cultural knowledge within the CBE educational framework. The research highlights CBE and its current role in building sustainable systems while revitalizing cultural identity. The following two research questions guided the study. How is CBE exhibited in the agricultural regions of Hakipuʻu and Kahaluʻu? And what strategies are being used to incorporate CBE into the program's design? The theoretical framework of the study followed William Demert's 2003 and 2011 depictions of culture-based education, while also relying on Sean Kanaiʻopuni's 2010 depiction of CBE, which contextually places CBE within five main categories relevant to the Hawaiian cultural identity. Those five categories are: first, the use of the Hawaiian language during instruction; second, active engagement with the family and the community; Third, the implementation of a curriculum focused on cultural content. Fourth, instruction delivered within the cultural context of the Hawaiian people. And fifth, the utilization of culturally relevant forms of assessment. So, this qualitative case study interprets phenomena associated with the implementation of culture based education. This study relied heavily on people's experiences and perspectives regarding the CBE framework. I utilized Yin's 2018 interactive model, which relies on knowledge producers and knowledge users to be in continual communication with each other, affecting each other's ideas, and thereby formulating meaningful, authentic narratives. The case study site location is in Koʻolaupoko on the windward side of the island of Oahu. You can see this region on the image to the left, which shows Koʻolaupoko circled. The two regions of focus are seen on the right, designated by the arrows. These regions are the ahupuaʻa of Hakipuʻu and Kahaluʻu, and represent the locations of the two organizations currently implementing CBE initiatives. The participants in the study included 4 Native Hawaiian practitioners and 1 non-Native practitioner. The criteria for participation include the selection of individuals who exhibit a deep understanding of the Hawaiian worldview and are currently working in AINA-based CBE programs. A total of 5 participants were interviewed and 2 field observations were conducted. Data collection for the study underwent a 7-step process. First, IRB approval to conduct the research was obtained. Next, the participant selection process took place. And during this process, I reached out to various CBE organizations recruiting qualified candidates for participation. Once participation consent was obtained, I conducted semi-structured interviews consisting of open-ended questions which provided participants the freedom to dive into deep, rich narratives, offering their perspectives and experiences as AINA-based educators. The next step was to conduct field observations at each site. During the field observations, I recorded both descriptive and reflective notes, highlighting the educational strategies and practices being implemented. Throughout the entire research process, I relied heavily on participant feedback to ensure my observations and interpretations were true representations of the intent of the educational activity. Once the interviews were transcribed, I utilized in vivo software to begin the open coding process. I combed through the interviews and field observations to find repetitive codes, and a total of 13 codes emerged. The coding process was further filtered through the theoretical framework and the 5 established criteria for CBE programs. Each coded component began to uncover emergent themes that were shared between each location. The 13 codes were linguistic depth, shared terminology, community engagement, family participation, acts of service, the use of mo'olelo or storytelling, mahi'ai, traditional farming practices, oli or chant, kilo, observation techniques, aloha aina, a focus on Hawaiian values and norms, skill repetition, and oral recital. Next, the coded elements of the data uncovered 5 overarching themes. The first theme noted that programs placed a strong emphasis on the linguistic depth of the language. Much of the shared terminology had multiple layers of meaning, which intimately connected to Hawaiian values, while at the same time passing down agricultural knowledge. Theme 2 noted that programs focused in creating community partnerships and opportunities for shared reciprocity. Partnering with the community built legitimacy and fostered unity as like-minded communal goals were achieved. Theme 3 revealed cultural content is used to position the student within the cultural norms of the Hawaiian community. Theme 4 showed each program focused almost exclusively on the Hawaiian philosophy of aloha aina, which emphasizes ecological and cultural stewardship. Lastly, Theme 5 uncovered that each program relies on informal assessment to gauge the student's understanding of the content. This included examples of rote learning, skill repetition, verbal recital, and student reflection. The findings at both Hakipuʻu and Kahaluʻu remained closely aligned with the 5 criteria for CBE implementation. Demert 2011 suggests each program follow a specific rubric to assess the efficacy of CBE implementation. It is important to note that neither site utilized an assessment rubric to assess program efficacy, nor was data collected at either program to quantify levels of student engagement or participation in community leadership opportunities. The implications and recommendation portions of this case study address the needs and practices of four key groups: AINA-based programs, administrators, faculty, and students. The implications of the study show that CBE initiatives challenge Western structures of education found in most traditional classroom settings, and that CBE programs strive to enhance the student learning experience through place-based cultural experiences by emphasizing cultural knowledge and values. CBE programs also prepare students with the practical skills aligned with agricultural and ecological stewardship. So the recommendations for each interested party suggest that AINA-based programs should engage in civic policy development, advocating for state and federal funding for school initiatives which give students access to AINA-based resources. Administrators should promote professional development programs focused on CBE instruction, equipping teachers to meet the diverse needs of their students, and solicit teacher, student, and community feedback on program efficacy and performance. Faculty should advocate for cultural competency as a worthwhile learning outcome and encourage students to express their diverse cultural perspectives during class discussion and rewarding those contributions through culturally relevant assessments. And students should also take an active role in sharing their lived experiences by expressing cultural knowledge and perspectives, become self reflective, self aware, and build upon their own cultural identities. There are two significant limitations with this case study. The first being that the case study is representative of only two sites and two organizations practicing CBE on the windward side of Oahu. There are many programs not represented in the study. Future investigations into comparable programs would further enhance the comprehensive nature of the research. And the second being that both sites use only informal measures to assess student achievement, therefore quantifying student outcomes and program efficacy could not be substantiated. The distribution plan of the findings will be through the publication of this dissertation, and the study will also be disseminated to each participant who took part in the case study to inform the respective organizations of the findings, and at a future date it may be presented at various conferences as well as professional development workshops. Along with informing the key groups directly related to the study, the target audience will include the Hawaii State Department of Education, participants in Hawaii's HIGH Initiative, which is a guiding educational framework adopted by the DOE. The findings can also inform Title I and Title III grant recipients who can help resource and fund future CB initiatives. So the management of and use of agricultural lands are important resources to impact the well-being of our communities. So this study can also inform other interested parties, such as the State Department of Office in Planning and Sustainable Development, Hawaii Department of Agriculture, and the Hawaii Department of Land and Natural Resources. So in conclusion, I hope this presentation inspires continued research in culture-based initiatives, placing a continued emphasis on community well-being through agricultural and ecological stewardship. Thank you for listening. Mahalo and aloha.